It's time to talk about the big tech stocks and what's going on with the market. I am Dr. Stock, Doctor of Education, and Santa Claus would make one heck of an NFL kicker because he's got a mistletoe. We're going to focus on some big tech. Tesla and Nvidia are going to take primary focus. I'm going to toss in SoFi, even though it doesn't count as one of the Magnificent Seven. I still think it's a very interesting chart. And then I have a bonus one for you towards the end of the video that is absolutely worth sticking around for. And if you want to see how I'm playing these markets, you can do so over at the Patreon. Got an options course that I'm building out over there. And also I'll tell you about Moomoo later on in this video. In the meantime, I do want to get right into the charts. So we're actually going to kick things off with SoFi. So I'm going to type that in, pop it up on the screen for you, and tell you what I see as I look at these charts. So I got SoFi up on the screen for you. You can see the bearish channel that it's in. As a matter of fact, there's something interesting to pay attention to. Now, I saw these prices dropping down here, and I was like, oh, that's really low for SoFi, down below 7. Usual rubber bands back up above 7 pretty quickly. Well, look right here. This light blue line that we have coming down right along here, just above the red one, that's the 50-day simple moving average. We're below that, which can be a bearish thing. We're also down below this yellow line that's squiggling up across here. That is the 200-day that we're looking at. That is also another bearish sign, and we are getting close to that 50-day cross in the 200-day. So that could be a death cross for us. I did have some call options out, and mind you, I do also have a long-term position where I hold the shares directly for SoFi, so I'm not sweating that out. For those price fluctuations, I think long-term, this is going to be a great play for me. Those call options, though, I chose to part ways with them, especially with this high wick that we see on the candle right here and the imminent death cross that we have coming up. This could possibly create some pretty significant buying opportunities for us for SoFi. So as far as options go, I'm going to step back for right now, and I'm going to watch and see where this is going to go. If we do see those prices push back down and we break down through this line here, I think there's going to be some pretty awesome opportunities for selling some put options and getting some really cheap shares of SoFi moving onward into the future. So that's something I wanted to bring to you as an opportunity, something to keep an eye on. Now, as far as the Magnificent Seven stocks go, let's take a look at Microsoft, because there are a few things I want you to pay attention to. One, great run at Microsoft. That was awesome. And when we look in here, if I zoom in a little bit closer, as these prices go up, we're actually starting to see a bit of a drop in the RSI. We're just getting back down into normal territory for bullishness out of the overbought territory. Now, we are starting to see some top wicks form on this thing. Nothing that says that it's going to scream downward or rip downward from here, but it is something that we want to absolutely keep an eye on and continue to watch for Microsoft in the near term, that there still could be that possibility of a pullback. When we look at Google, we actually see some higher wick here, a nice drop, another higher wick. So for Google, we're actually getting prices pushed down. We are above the 50-day, we're above the 200-day. Still looking bullish. As a matter of fact, we're actually still in this bullish channel as well that we have for Google, that we broke back into it and had a really nice time. We do have a little bit of a momentum drop just over the past 3 trading days as we watch this. So it's something we want to pay attention to see if that's going to continue to fall. Look at Amazon's momentum as we go in here. They're pretty much sideways, even though the price is going up. And then we had this huge high top wick coming off here as well, that those prices, the bears came in and just smushed that price right back down, sitting at support right around that, just below 148. 147.73 is where we're at right now, and in the post market 147.57. So let's keep on going through the big tech. We have Apple, which you can see that it turned the corner, and this is actually a really good indication of what happens when you get those high top wicks with the drop in the momentum. This is something that we're still seeing, that momentum drop. It's possible that we see that price continue to push back down. And with this narrow body candle that we have right here with these longer wicks that we're seeing, that could be a sign that we get a little bit of a reversal coming in. We're going to have to watch and see for Apple if we get that, or if we get a little bit of softness. I do think that if we pull back in Apple, we have room back down to about the 185 area. So I want to be on the lookout for that one. Let's take a look at Meta. Meta is looking very similar to Apple recently with the way that the prices are curving back down on this. We have a nice long top wick on this one as well, so a little bit of sell-off, and we're still seeing the momentum drop as well. So I talked in an earlier video, as a matter of fact, one out this morning, that we could possibly see a near-term pullback. And when we look at the Magnificent Seven, you can see that we're getting that sort of weakness coming in. We're actually getting propped up by some other stocks that are out there. Not that these are necessarily huge and deadly to the markets, especially QQQ as we're watching, but it's something to pay attention to. So for Nvidia, I said for their earnings, we could see a pullback to 475, or we could pop to 525. We ended up getting that pullback side of it, and we didn't quite get down to 475, but we got darn close on that one. The low price, 476.90. 477.45, and then we have 476.52. So we almost got to that 475 level, and we'll see here if we do continue to pull back from there. If we do, we have room down to 460 and then 450, and we'll see if the market continues to push down from there. I will say for Nvidia, and this is really important, I said that I wanted to dwell on Nvidia for a little bit. Their earnings came out. Their earnings were incredible. Not only did they have a 12 to 13% beat on their revenue, but then they also crushed it for the numbers that even I had that were fairly bullish for earnings, that they went up over $4 per share for the quarter. And that is incredible to see from them. And I think that next year is also going to be a very strong year for them. And then we want to see more how 2025 is going to play out. But guess what? I think that that's also going to be very good. If you want to see my stock price prediction and earnings forecast that I have for Nvidia through 2028, that is available over to the Patreon. That link is down in the description. But I will say in the near term, we don't know the direction on Nvidia based off what we're seeing in the chart. We don't know where that bottom is exactly. We could be starting to get around where that bottom is. We could possibly drop further. I will say that anything below 500, I still think is going to be a buying opportunity for us. But remember that we're absolutely in the market's hands right now for the trading multiples that we're dealing with. Nvidia got cheaper to trade with as of this last earnings than they had back for Q2 earnings that we saw that got released back in August. Just so you all know that with more revenue, with more earnings per share, this stock just got cheaper at $500 per share than it was in Q2, at the end of Q2, I should say, at $500 per share. And if it continues to trade below $500 per share and they put up $20 billion in revenue and they continue to grow that bottom line, and they should because they have pricing power there. And they went from about 70% margins, now they're up to forecasting a 74% margin. So that's incredible to pay attention to. So I do remain bullish on Nvidia. I still think that they're a $500+ stock. And if you want to see how that actually looks, all the numbers that I cranked out on it, that is available over at the Patreon. But I will say that I think the buying opportunities are upon us. I don't know that it's time for those options plays to hit yet. Should we see the market get crushed down, this thing hits 400 again, I think that's going to be a rare opportunity for us, and that we would very soon see this price spring back up, and pretty rapidly at that. So I think at that point in time, it would be almost a no-brainer to place those call options on something like Nvidia. Let me put this up here for you. So here's Nvidia. This yellow line across here is the $400 line that we're looking at. And you can see just how quickly when we got back here near that 400 mark, we ripped up, near 400 ripped up, and Nvidia is just doing stronger as a company. And I don't think that the competition is going to catch up to them anytime soon. So I just wanted to give that commentary out there for Nvidia. I do remain bullish on it. I still stand by everything that I said about Nvidia. And I think that they actually, even though they might be trading at a little bit of a premium right now, I think that it's a well-merited premium, unlike a lot of other stocks that would also be trading up that haven't really sort of filled out those shoes yet for the prices that they're trading at. And so let's move on to Tesla. Now, Tesla, this is probably the most interesting one that I have here. And I want to be very emphatic here about the way that I talk about Tesla. So for Tesla, we know that the price has been in a bearish trend recently. And we also know about the headwinds that we had talking about high interest rates and how they're bad for the auto market and inflation, how the auto market is very sensitive to inflation as well. Well, I'll tell you what, with inflation starting to subside and with the Fed getting closer and closer to that time that they actually start to turn around and pivot, as long as we start to or continue to chip away at that higher for longer, I think anything for that is going to be a catalyst for Tesla. I think the next 2 weeks could be very exciting for Tesla, 2 to 3 weeks, I should say. So let me put this back up here. So on the daily chart, we closed at, let me see what that number is. We closed today at 236.08. The 50-day simple moving average is 236.44. So we closed just below that. We want to see that confirmation where we close up above that. We have a long bottom wick on here, which is good for bullishness there. We are between 50 and 70 on the RSI. It has declined a little bit, but it's still up above there. Now, more interestingly than that, if we go out to the weekly chart and look at the longer term trend, we have actually broken down to the bearish territory, going all the way back to, let me see where we actually hit it. We hit it right around their earnings, that week of their earnings, Monday, October the 16th, that week. I think their earnings were on Wednesday, the 18th. So that week, and this is the weekly chart that we're looking at, that is when they went down into bearish territory. You can see the declining momentum the entire time. Now, interestingly, we've just come back up and we're flirting with that number 50. As a matter of fact, today for the weekly RSI, we are just back up above 50. Now, mind you, that is not confirmation of the pop that we see. We see these high wicks that preceded it. We can see that it's a battle right now between the bulls and the bears. But if we pop well above 50 in the RSI on the weekly chart, that's a very bullish sign that we have for Tesla. And I think from here that we could easily go back and reclaim 250 plus looking at Tesla. So I think this is very much worthwhile to look at. And when you look at the 5 and the 13 weeks that we have on here, the 5 is this green squiggly line that's about to cross the 13. And when you have a faster moving average crossing the slower moving average, that is a bullish thing that we're looking at. We're above the 50 EMA. That's the red line that we have on here. So there is a lot going on with this chart that says that there is significant potential for more bullishness for Tesla from a technical standpoint. And I will say, fundamentally speaking, even though right now might be sort of a mired time for Tesla, I think that it's something that they're going to come out the other side of very cleanly, very sparkly. And so that's something that keeps me bullish on Tesla and why I'm a long-term holder of Tesla stock and why I continue to pay attention to the stock in the market and with Tesla as a company and fundamentally as well. And mind you, I do put my Tesla stock price prediction and earnings analysis over at the Patreon as well. That link is down in the description. So let me pop this back up here. So Tesla, I think, is by far the most interesting of the 3 showcased stocks that I have on here out of SoFi, which, you know, I think that there's a good opportunity for serious gains there, depending on how we play that one. Even if it does drop, I think selling those put options could be a very smart play that we have, especially if we drop down below like $6 per share, because I think that that's something we could sell the puts if we get a big drop from that. And then we can also buy calls and then play the way up from that one once we start to see the sign of the turnaround. For Tesla, I think that it could be a good opportunity for some significant bullishness coming up if we can pop 50 on the weekly RSI. So be on a lookout for that. Let's go back out to the daily chart just a moment to see what's on here. And so for the daily chart, this bearish engulfing candle that we got, I talked in my Discord about this last week. Somebody was asking about it, and I said that's a sign of bearishness. We can see the prices drop from there, and so far it hasn't been a huge drop for us. So that is something that could play out in a bearish way. And right now, we're sort of in a mixed area. I wouldn't say that it's the time to go in on it. We do want to watch and see what happens with this. We don't want to see that cross on the 50-day RSI that we're looking at here. We don't want to see that. We don't want to see the RSI on the daily chart here cross down below 50. That would be another bearish sign. Closing down below the 50, this blue line that's on here, also not great for us. But the fact that we are above those, and as those moving averages converge, that one is what we really want to pay attention to with the price action. We want to see it above all of those moving averages. Tomorrow would be a great day for it. As a matter of fact, I don't know that that would happen, but it'd be really nice to see. And closing up above the 50-day, like I said, could be that first sign of that kickoff, if you will. And I think that the big catalyst could possibly be around the PCE with personal income and outlays coming out on Thursday of this week. And then we also have the CPI and PPI coming out. Let me see, I think it's 2, maybe 3 Wednesdays out from there. It's the middle of December that we're going to watch those numbers come out as well. And I think both things are going to be very positive for Tesla because I think that the inflation reports are going to be good reads for us. As a matter of fact, I think the inflation reports are going to look very attractive to us, very handsome to us, very bullish for the stock market going all the way up through January as we watch the inflation reports come out. I still think it's possible that near term that we get a pullback in the markets. And, you know, that's why I put up the Magnificent 7 up there. And this is a look at the cues that we're looking at. And look at those high top wicks that we have. It is possible that we push down from here. We want to find out where that support is for the cues. And then from there, I think that we are going to go back. And I think that we're going to retest the all-time highs before the close of 2023. So we'll see if the pullback happens. It's possible that it doesn't, but it'd be very good if it did. We would want to see that support because should we see that support and we continue to get excellent economic reports from there, very bullish reports, that's what I think can push us up to retest those all-time highs in the S&P, in the Qs. And guys, before I get to the bonus, I do want to tell you just this real quick, and I'll tell you about the big thing that I'm watching in the markets right now. I will tell you my Patreon, if you want to see what I'm buying and selling, that link is down in the description. And that's also where I have my Nvidia and Tesla stock price prediction and earnings forecast. And then my portfolio is amplified course for options. If you want to see that, go ahead and check that out at the Patreon as well. And if you want to get access to a trading platform where I trade my options, and you can also get over 5% APY on your unused cash. And if you can see this spot right here, you can get up to 15 free stocks by signing up using my link down in the description. That link for the Moomoo app is also down in the description as well. All right, guys, the bonus now, and then I'll wrap things up for you here. The bonus, this is absolutely huge, and I continue to watch this one. This one is IWM, which is the ETF that tracks the Russell 2000. Look at this thing. Let me put it up there on the screen for you. There we are. Let me zoom out so you can see it better, and I'm going to reset the chart view. Perfect. So you can see that I have here that there was an inverse head and shoulders, and you can see what happened as a result of that inverse head and shoulders, that it actually did play out. We got a little bit of a pop. As a matter of fact, though, we haven't totally broken the neckline. So here you can consider maybe one of them, but I think a better view of the neckline is actually right here. And we actually have a point of confluence. This yellow squiggly line coming across here is the 200-day that we're looking at, and we're getting upward pressure on that. The momentum declining a little bit, so we're going to have to watch that one. But should we break 200 on that for these small caps, especially if inflation is showing to subside, I think that this is one that can outperform in the near term, outperform the Qs and the SPY. It is much farther away from the top of this thing. Now, I don't know over a longer time horizon, over the next several months, if it's going to outperform or not, but I do think that over the next month or two, that there's a really good possibility that we see a strong rise in those small caps for the Russell 2000. And so this is one very bullish on, especially should we get up above that 200-day. That is the thing to watch. If we get rejected off the 200-day, that's also important then that we watch and see if we break this white line right here, which is long-term support for us. And you can see that we did before, rip back up above it, and now we're kind of getting squeezed, if you will, between that support and that 200-day. So we want to see if that leads to our golden cross moment, which is going to happen before we see this 50-day cross that 200-day that we're looking for this Russell 2000 ETF. And again, that ticker symbol is IWM. So that's the bonus that I have for you. I think that the small caps, I think, are going to do amazingly well as soon as the interest rates start to pull back. I think before we start to see the true pop for that, I think that there's some near-term success to be found with IWM. The Qs, the SPY, I think there's a near-term pullback coming for those. IWM could most certainly move with it, but we do want to watch for IWM to break its 200-day. Tesla, we want to watch and see that we can make it back up over that 50-day. We definitely want to be watching the RSI on the weekly chart because we want to see that strongly pop 50. When we see that move up above 50 using the RSI on the weekly chart on Tesla, it's very possible that we start to see Tesla's price start to rise as well. And then Nvidia, got to see where that support's being found. We have to see if we set a little bit more from where we're at. I will say that I still think that there's significant upside over the next 12 months easily for Nvidia from these prices, even if we do have some fluctuations that take it lower in the near term. We're just going to have to watch for it. And if you're an Nvidia holder like I am, then it's one that you're just going to have to bear in the meantime. SoFi, watching for where the bottom of that is. Will that death cross play out? So far, we didn't cross back over the 200-day. We started approaching it, and we sold off significantly once we got around that $7 mark. So we want to see, should we happen to find bottom for that, if the death cross plays out, selling puts is probably the move that I'm going to go with because I love getting cheap SoFi stock. And then I will say when we start to see signs of a reversal, should that happen, that I will switch over to buying call options and playing that on the way back up as well. So that's what I got for you guys for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. Check out the Patreon. That link's down in the description. Also down in the description, the Moomoo app. Find that link, click it, sign up. You won't be sorry. It's a wonderful trading platform. Thank you guys for watching. I am Dr. Stock, Doctor of Education. Remember, my friends, that learning is earning, and we'll see you in the next video.